bring in straight away, I think, Jamil Jaffer, who is a former chief counsel and senior advisor for the US Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Jamil, thanks for joining us this morning. What's been your reaction to the last hour or so? Good morning to you.
Well, good morning, and it's obviously very interesting. I think that I'm not sure a lot of people suspected that this would happen, but we now appear to have a 2-week ceasefire in place, wherein Iran will apparently open up the Straits of Hormuz completely, as the president has said, and in exchange, the U.S. will enter into negotiations, and the U.S. and Israel will cease bombing Iran. And apparently, this came about in part as part of a 10-point peace plan that Iran has put forward, or 10-point plan that Iran has put forward, some of which the U.S. is not disclosing any of the details of the plan. Iran claims that the plan involves the total withdrawal of U.S. forces, an end to the U.S. conflict with terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, and a variety of other provisions. It's hard to imagine the president has even agreed to that framework if there aren't significant concessions on the Iranian side as well. He had demanded an end to terror attacks, an end to their nuclear program, their giving up of all their enriched uranium. So we'll see if there is, in fact, a framework to be had here. But it looks like 2 weeks of relative calm in the future as long as the straits remain open.
A statement here from the Prime Minister of Pakistan. With the greatest humility, I'm pleased to announce that the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America, along with their allies, have agreed to an immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon and elsewhere, effective immediately. I warmly welcome the sagacious gesture and extend deepest gratitude to the leadership of both the countries and invite their delegations to Islamabad on Friday to further discuss or negotiate for a conclusive agreement to settle all disputes. I mean, do you feel that the men involved will come in person to try and hash this out, Jamil?
Well, it does appear that starting on April 10th, Friday, April 10th, that there will be in-person negotiations. The question becomes who will it be from the Iranian side? Who will it be from the U.S. side? If past this prologue from the U.S. side, at least we'd expect Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner to be there. If the U.S. wants to up the ante and demonstrate that they're really ready to negotiate, they might send Marco Rubio or Vice President J.D. Vance. But those are the major players in this. I doubt the president will go. Even if there was a deal signed, I'd be surprised if the president would be engaged in that. I don't think he wants to be in the same room as the supreme leader or any of the senior leadership that's left in Iran. So my guess is we're going to see people like Witkoff, Kushner, and maybe Vance or Rubio.
And we have had reports of missiles, alarms, sirens going off in Israel, which are being suspected of relating to Iranian attacks. What does that tell us, if indeed that is the case?
Well, that's obviously problematic because if they've entered into a ceasefire, I think the obvious signs of a ceasefire holding, one are no missiles on either side, no bombs on either side. If the Israelis are being attacked by missiles, the likely suspects are an Iranian-supported group, typically the Houthis, Hezbollah in Lebanon, or the like. So we'll have to see. And again, these could be one-offs. We don't know for sure. On the flip side, we also have to see the Straits of Hormuz reopened. No word yet on whether that's actually happened or will happen, but that appears to be part of this deal. And so we'll see if that takes place over the next few hours. If that, in fact, happens, and these backed up thousands, or I think a couple of thousand, I believe, tankers that are sitting in the Gulf waiting to cross, if they begin to cross, that could, one, as you pointed out earlier, but lower the pressure on the price of oil. That, I think, addresses some of the concerns the president has, and then creates a space for this negotiation to take place in Pakistan.
Were you surprised when this volte-face was taken by the president, or was this always going to be the narrative?
Well, there had to be a path out of this, because you had on one side the president of the United States saying, look, we're going to potentially end the civilization in Iran. Obviously, that was a very aggressive statement. He talked about destroying all the bridges in Iran, all the power plants. That obviously would have a huge detrimental effect on the Iranian population, most of which doesn't support the Iranian regime itself. So that would be, I think, part of the challenge on the U.S. side, and might decay our ability to get our allies to stay on board with us as well. On the Iranian side, of course, that would have been very problematic for them. And obviously, they're under significant pressure. Their military has taken a significant hit, their Navy in particular, with these bombardments. So there's an incentive on both sides to negotiate, but it almost looked like things were getting more aggressive, not less in the last sort of 24, 48 hours. So this, I think, is welcome relief to everybody that we're not now in the middle of a massive bombing campaign.
And just finally, do you feel that anything concrete, useful, positive for the people of Iran, for the region and the world has been achieved in these weeks of bombing? Has Donald Trump actually done anybody a real favour in what's at times seemed to be a pretty aimless conflict?
Well, look, I do think that that the Iranian regime's ability to use its military might has been significantly degraded. I think that's a win for the United States and our allies in the region. That being said, I do think that we have to now see real results coming out of that, right? What we need then is to see a real termination of the nuclear program, not the sort of weak sauce deal that we saw in a prior administration. We need to see real change there, real reduction and removal of all enriched uranium, removal of the actual enrichment capability itself. Beyond that, then we also need to see them no longer support terrorist groups like Hezbollah and Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Those would be massive changes for this regime. If we see those kind of changes, that's hugely beneficial to the world community, to the United States, our allies, and to the region. But that kind of change is hard to imagine actually happening in Iran without regime change. And that has not been achieved. That is not likely to be achieved at this point unless something were to change in the conflict. And so, and then for the Iranian people, unfortunately, they're not going to get the regime they deserve. And that's a really sad and unfortunate situation because, of course, that's how this, at some level, began for President Trump when he said, help is coming. I think the Iranian people and the people who rose up against the Iranian regime are still waiting for that help. And that, unfortunately, I don't think has arrived yet.
Well, listen, it's good to have you at the start of the show. I think, as you quite rightly say, any prospect of regime change is no longer on the board there. Thanks to Jamil Jaffer, their former chief counsel and senior advisor for the US Senate Foreign Relations Committee.